met Mohit Sureka last year in May, and believe me, I have been amazed at the journey that he has taken from starting as a CA to moving to Cape Town, where he started running his own restaurants and cloud kitchens, to organizing a international tequila festival in 2019, which had a 12,000 crowd. He is a serial entrepreneur. He has handled multiple hats, and now Mohit has actually started the Global Startup Club, a unique networking platform.
So Global Startups Club started out of my own requirement of networking. 2021 I had moved back to India. I was trying to find my feet in the Indian ecosystem, setting up a absolutely new entrepreneurial venture. The first idea was, let me go and attend some of the other conferences and networking meets, etc. When that need was in a way not fulfilled and you had higher expectations of what you should get out of a community as such.
Now that India, yes, we already spoke about India and how India has to now go to the world. And I think definitely I believe that India's time has come. India is somewhere, because now we are really growing and we are encouraging made in India, and we're encouraging. What do you think more needs to be done? What more can be done, or what is going to derail us? Somewhere, what are your thoughts on that?
See, so firstly, we are still a $2,000 per person economy. We are not at $40,000 and $50,000 like how some of the other countries are working. See, the good thing is he is not singled India out. Trade wars is escalating on. So if the tariff goes up for us for 25% and it goes up for Vietnam say 34% and everybody else to similar extent, how does it really affect?
I know that many people have tried to copy the format of Global Startup Club. So what is your take? You think?
Just as a disclaimer, we do about 28 to 30 offline networking meet every month in over 25 plus global cities. I always have this thing that when we say no, don't judge a book by its cover. I think that's because people are judging the book by its cover.
They are. Hi, welcome to another edition of the Evolvement Podcast. Every fortnight, we bring to you someone who is a leader, who has done something unique, and is also recreating their own environment. And yes, they are also benefiting many other people. And before we proceed, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe right now. To come to our next guest, it's an amazing journey he has taken. I met Mohit Sureka last year in May. And believe me, I have been amazed at the journey that he has taken from starting as a CA to moving to Cape Town, where he started running his own restaurants and cloud kitchens, to organizing a international tequila festival in 2019, which had a 12,000 crowd. He is a serial entrepreneur. He has handled multiple hats, and now Mohit has actually started the Global Startup Club, a unique networking platform. The word unique keeps coming again and again for me, because that is exactly what Global Startup Club is. And today we're going to delve much more deeper in it. Thank you, Mohit, for coming. It's been an amazing journey, Mohit, for me as well. I know you since the last 1 year. Mohit, what made you start Global Startup Club?
Thank you, Vreen, for having me firstly. So Global Startups Club started out of my own requirement of networking.
Right.
Okay. 2021 I had moved back to India. I was trying to find my feet in the Indian ecosystem, setting up a absolutely new entrepreneurial venture. And the first idea was, let me go and attend some of the other conferences and networking meets, etc. When that need was in a way not fulfilled and you had higher expectations of what you should get out of a community as such.
Right.
Is how Global Startups Club started, as a community of founders, entrepreneurs, investors, and other ecosystem collaborators.
When I started my business in June, but I took some time to even think what I'm going to do. And so I've done so much, I said, nahi, kuch to kar hi lenge, because obviously, because of the experience you have, and So in the month of March, I came across one of the networking sites, and they convinced me that you have to join. Okay, so I paid the annual fees, and then there is a monthly fees because you're going to a swanky hotel every once a month, once a week, and you're having a good breakfast with them, and so there was, so I was not too convinced, believe me, because I was always working for a corporate, and I was not too convinced, but someone said no, if you're doing a business you have to do this, okay, so have to kill it. And I thought business nahi aa raha is because something I'm doing wrong, so I kept inventing myself. They said no, work on your elevator pitch, do this, so a lot of things were happening, and I think meeting you, so this, I think somewhere, I had already exhausted that, when after some months I took a break from all that and I met you, and I said, oh, this is how networking has to take place. Okay, so what, now let's compare, okay, the old setup and the new setup. What made you change that entire setup?
So I think one side I felt the old type of networking communities were preying on desperate entrepreneurs to some extent. And it felt wrong in a way. So we created an environment which I felt I would pay for or would create value for me. So whatever I felt would create value for me, we incorporated into the networking community.
Right.
Unlike when you're coming for a 2.5 hour networking event, as much as you would love great breakfast, breakfast was not important. You came to meet new people, you came to meet like-minded people, brainstorming, etc. Over a period, we even evolved a separate breakfast club event altogether.
Correct.
Where the focus was dual. You're having breakfast also and meeting new people also. But idea was, how do you create value chain to founders and entrepreneurs who are just out there to meet like-minded individuals, another 40-50 individuals, meet investors, meet other people. From there we simplified the process, like stick to what is the core reason people are here for.
Correct.
I think usme thoda value is different.
No, I'll tell you what, the earlier that format, because there you have to become a member. To get any value out of it,
100%.
You definitely have to be a member, and there is there's a cover charge, there's an annual charge, there is a monthly charge.
We call it a micro transaction modus operandi, right? Because once you have taken the annual charges from somebody, now you're micro charging them on everything.
Correct.
I kind of wanted to cut that out. So you get what you see. We have a minimal annual charge. We said all 24 events besides that during the year, don't pay for it. We cut out all the things that you were kind of making people desperate about, because you don't really know all of these things on day one, right? Times. And when it's a clear cut X cost and Y value system delivery, I think that's what gave us a little more success.
Y'all also moved away from those weekly meetings.
Yes.
Like there was a situation, I'll tell you what, where I could not attend those meetings for some 3-4 weeks because I was traveling. Alright. Now I'm traveling, and believe me, they put the hammer on my head. How can you travel for so long? You have to attend the meetings. You send a substitute. Okay. And believe me, I was seeing the substitutes that others were sending. There's somebody sending an office boy, somebody sending their assistant secretary, like that. So I am actually,
somebody can't be truly represented.
And I am paying to meet office boys. I'm paying to meet secretaries. And they're not even giving their proper elevator pitch. And every week you're supposed to do the same thing every week on week.
So I think, look, it's all of those communities are great communities. Firstly, I have nothing against any other community. The only thing was, again, we created value what we felt is value.
Correct.
Firstly. So the whole format of meeting once a week, I think worked well for the 90s and 2000s. But now if you fast forward the community to 2025, have the community structure evolved or not? Correct. This is what I felt when there is over insistence of printed paper and pen and writing so many details of each other down. Why are we not using Google Forms? Why are we not evolving into how the current businesses are being run? The 90s and 2000s, you really needed to meet every person individually.
Correct.
None of the communities are using LinkedIn well. how well do we use LinkedIn with Global Startups Club?
We do.
Correct.
Pretty well.
So that kind of structure is what we brought to the table. And for a fact, majority of the other communities which cropped up were a copy paste of the original.
Correct.
Okay, and we didn't want to copy them. I think that was the main difference.
Yeah.
I felt they already have their market and they already have their audience. I felt for people like you and me where our audience is different. It's a bunch of professional founders and entrepreneurs.
Correct.
And want to, navigate each other at a very higher level. There we needed a different kind of a structure. And I think that gave us a little edge.
It did, because I'll tell you what, I realized, I attended that one meeting for 7 months, and every week and stuff like that, 7 to 8 months. I actually realized that the kind of category of people that I am catering to is not there.
Correct.
I deal mostly with professionals, and I also deal with people who are business owners and of a substantial business. I
Correct.
don't deal with people who are MSMEs. That is not that's what I realized going there. I realized that is not my category. So the quality of people that are meeting at your meetings. I mean, I met, guess what, Droom Music founder. I've met so many VCs. I've met investors. I've met founders of companies. I think the category, and they are so open to change. They are coming, they're talking in a meeting, and they're just attending. So I think the category of people, the quality of people changed considerably. And because there's no membership, so everyone is just walking in when they feel like coming in.
Correct.
Like suddenly you meet somebody who's, I remember in this last summit,
Correct.
we met, I think, the co-founder of HDFC Credila,
Ajay Bohraji.
Ajay Bohraji. I mean, he was amazing. I've
Correct.
met Pradeep Reddy from
The
headquarters in Hyderabad. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think these people would normally come for those typical networking meetings.
Correct.
I met Vikram Singh, the co-founder of Droom Music.
Yes.
I've called on my podcast Sriram Sastrigal. He was a panelist for you.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
I mean, such people, if you see, and so many, Sabha, Sumitra, I mean, I think the name just goes on. Okay. So since you started it, okay, now, so let's now go back. When you started it, okay, so what was the thought process that you've mentioned? But now, where do you see it going? How do you want to grow this?
See, so one thing, when we even started the organization, we named it Global Startups Club. Because the ambitions were very high right from day one. Currently, we are in 14 cities in India and 14 international cities. So we have a footprint of 28 cities in the world in about less than 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling to be bringing together founders and entrepreneurs in Dubai, Dallas, in Toronto, in London, in Sydney, in Singapore, besides reaching top cities in India and even tier 2 cities. So we are doing Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, Kolkata, Vishakhapatnam this week, Coimbatore, Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Pune. So we've seen people give so much value to each other from all over the world, from within those cities.
Yeah.
And meet their co-founders at events like these, meet their CTOs, CFOs, find their vendors, find their customers,
I
meet their
found so many vendors. Yeah, I
meet
mean,
their investors, everybody. Like, we have seen companies retake shape within the ecosystem. People whom you introduced the first 2-3 times are now co-founders.
correct. Yeah.
So small things like that, I think that's where the value creation lies in this. And we want to be an ecosystem that by 2028 we want to be in 70 top cities in the world where startups are flourishing. And I think the next 100 unicorns and 10 unicorns will come out of this ecosystem in the next 3 or 5 years.
Definitely. The kind of synergies that I have been seeing myself, I think, and when I talk to somebody, suddenly I know, okay, they too are getting together, they are planning,
Correct.
And I've even seen that people who have come and they've joined in. And so, you have the charter member plan, which I am fortunate to be part of it. And I joined the charter member last year in August, and I've been pretty privileged. I think I should tell that Mohit actually helped me launch my book, and this is like my book, and so he helped me launch my book. So in the Hyderabad summit, I launched my book at Radisson Blu. I mean, I tell people, where did you get a book launch? It was at Radisson Blu, and it's like because of
spent a lot of money.
Yeah, like it just obviously I had a stall at Radisson Blu, and I'm like signing book copies, and I that author feeling came there, you know. And then again, you helped me do a success launch at Bombay as well. So this was, at Orchid Hotel, and so it was obviously like very, very prestigious. But and I've also loved it that not just with Mohit, but the charter members are now helming their own cities.
Correct.
They are. I want you to tell me, why did you see? Normally, I've seen founders are very connected, or they will like hire somebody. They'll say, okay, no, you are a regional head over here, or there are connects here. But here you have given them the authority to actually helm, a GSC in their own city.
So basically, I thought I wanted to create value for them in a way.
Yeah.
And the brand authority building as an individual and your brand recognition that comes out of hosting some of these events.
Correct.
The dopamine you get out of 40 people after the event wanting to talk and get a piece of you, that is only possible if you're leading your city and you're leading your chapter, moderating the panels there, heading out the meetings. So, we divided that out between different kind of members.
Right.
Different talks and, different responsibility based on what their aptitude is. And the idea was, look how strong the community is, right? I mean, for a fact that we might be less than 60 people from a charter membership point of view, whereas somebody else would have sold 200.
Correct.
But our 60 are coherent unit. You might see that out of 60, almost all of them will continue with us for years to come. I think that's the difference why I wanted to create this within the plan.
Yeah. No. Even Sumitra Sarkar, I met her, at Hyderabad for the first time, and Sabha I met in Bombay, and I love the fact she's based in Gurgaon, and she actually goes to a Chandigarh to host a global startup club over there. Like, can you see the kind of dynamic entrepreneurship mindset that is? And she's like, no, let me go to Chandigarh. I'm sure there is a scope in Chandigarh, and she did that. And you are like, you feel you want to host something, go ahead. And I think that's so amazing. And everyone is doing everything that possible to connect with people.
So Sumitra hosted Chandigarh, Rohit hosted Kolkata.
Okay.
Ajita hosted Bhubaneswar.
And she's based in Bangalore. So let's mention that.
They were traveling back to their hometowns, right? Kolkata, Bhubaneswar. Archana was in Dubai recently. She hosted the Dubai
And she's
event.
based where?
Mumbai.
So she hosted the Dubai one.
She hosted the Dubai one.
Right.
And the idea is, even when the members are now traveling, it's become now part of the culture.
Right.
That how do we host the other city, other country? While I'm traveling, we would bring together 20 founders for you. Are you ready to intermingle with them and co-moderate them in a meetup? And I think that's the difference that we created.
No, and I'll tell you what, how are you bringing these founders to the table? I need to definitely, lead generation is something which is like crazy. Like any business owner wants lead generation. How many heads can you fill? And I have seen your events, like a breakfast meeting में भी 15-16 जन भर के आ रहे हैं.
Correct.
Okay, I had run a community in Bombay, I ran it for a year. One person, two people coming in. I'm like, how is Mohit getting so many people?
Starts with the Tequila Festival again, right?
Okay.
And you can bring thousands and thousands of people in a stadium.
Right.
That's just a skill set we have learned over a period.
Please share.
It's just generally put the brand out there.
Okay.
It should get as many impressions as you can garner for it.
Okay.
The proposition should be very crisp. You need to catch attention between 1 to 3 to 5 seconds at max.
Okay.
To get them engaged. It should have a real value proposition you would have noticed at Global Startups Club, I don't talk about my own other companies and brands too much.
No,
we are not selling anything.
You just, that presentation just says like skip, हाँ ये भी है, that's it.
Correct.
Correct.
And because of those kind of reasons, people realize there is a value to attending these meets. There is no hidden agendas. And then when you see our reputation or what do you call it, ratings and reviews online, almost on every platform we are at 4.7, 4.8 out of 5 stars.
Correct.
And this is post 450 events.
Right.
So we have consistently delivered high quality networking and conferences and those kind of meetups for people, and I think that's what creates the brand.
No, I think also founders come there. I think I have been talking to so many of the founders who come there. It's not always about business, but somewhere they feel that there's an energy and a vibe happening.
Correct.
And I think, because I remember speaking to Pradeep Reddy in Hyderabad and Bombay also, he specially flew down to Bombay for the Bombay event.
Bombay Summit, yes.
For the Mumbai Met, and he was like, when we were just talking something, and he said, I like the vibe. I like that there's someone doing something new. And you're talking to these people and by the way, in your events, there are founders with so many years of experience, n number of years of experience. And you also have those students, or you have those people in jobs, and we are thinking of becoming a founder. So I think the diverse range that is there, that is the plus point. Everyone feels comfortable to be part of it.
So for me, at a personal level, vibe is important. So when I was doing other business networking events, I always felt, why do these need to be boring?
Correct.
Like a lot of them were just a panel discussion. They wouldn't start on time. Like how you have hosted a few events, how my team will earmark every minute to the event. Exact what time registration, exact what time it should start, exact what time what should happen. And 95% we try our best to stick to timings.
Correct.
But within those timings, we have tried keeping the agenda in such a way that it doesn't go boring. Because I'm attending a startup event or I'm attending a business event, doesn't mean there should be no fun in it. That's why we have so many different kind of icebreaker activities.
Correct, exactly.
And those range of icebreaker activities is what makes our events more fun. And we also divert people's way of talking. Whereas 80-90% of the audience comes with the thought ki this is what I'll sell to this room. This is how I'll talk, people will get impressed, blah blah blah. And those are normally very cliched things people want to do. Come and talk about only themselves.
Correct.
When we change the topics, we give them the topics they need to talk on with each other.
Correct.
What that does is that brings the true self out of a lot of these founders. When you tell somebody, introduce yourself with 2 truths and 1 lie.
I've attended those,
Correct. It's just fun. I mean, nobody is able to guess some of the lies others sell. And then you can point out to them, look, these are the liars in the room. That's a fun activity.
No, so but in that activity,
everybody laugh all the time.
No, you did. But something, I found that I couldn't lie about myself. I was a little I tried, and I definitely tried. And I think you ended up saying that if you can't lie, business kya karoge? Something like that, which you said. And I'm like, oh my God, how will I do business? So that was like a panic for me.
Because that's the truth, right? I mean, you can't go to a top car company, say Mahindra. Mahindra will not say we are good car company, but I think Skoda is better. Go 2 doors down and buy that Skoda. It's a nicer car. It will last longer. Nobody would say that.
Correct. Obviously.
I mean, so are we not lying when we are in sales all the time?
Fake it till you make it. I think that is
not just fake it. It's not a lie.
It's not a lie.
An Englishman taught me back in South Africa that it's not a lie. It's bullshits. To be in sales, you have to bullshit that
हाँ.
Of course, you are the best team who can do it.
Right.
Of course, you are the greatest business. Of course, we are the greatest network
हाँ.
currently operating. So
No. And somewhere, Mohit, I mean, it's like, okay, I'm building up my business, but I can't go and tell people, someone will ask me, okay, how many clients, or, I mean, there's something, what are you doing? I can't just say, nahi, kal hi chalu kiya hai. You can't do that. See, that is something, I mean, listen.
Correct, I know that, right?
Like you go to a restaurant and usko kal ganda review mila hai. He will say, no, overall we've got 4.5. He will not say, kal 2 mila. See, nobody will say that.
Everybody shouted at us before leaving yesterday.
You can't say they are white lies. They're not harming anyone,
correct.
Yeah. So they are those simple things. Yeah. So, but yeah, that is something which I realized.
Because as founders, there is this whole thing. Oh, I would have been the greatest startup founder if my co-founder wouldn't cheat me.
Haan.
Okay, I would be a great founder if all these consultants wouldn't have billed me extra.
Right.
So, but you also wanted to listen to that consultant's lie.
Exactly.
The honest guys you don't want to listen to. You also fell for the red flags only.
Correct.
So the idea of our different icebreaker activities also to recognize how to be smart people.
Correct.
This blame game doesn't work anymore. Like, I want people to be winning. So we are trying to train them up to be productive, to know better branding, better marketing, better sense of judging other co-founders, better sense of judging other vendors, other customers. There are so many customers I say a no to, right? Even on my end. Because as soon as somebody is disrespectful, I don't want them to be working with me and my team.
I totally get that. Your toxicity is something that, you don't want that toxic thing to add into your business.
Yeah.
End of the day, you can do without that. And I actually have kept a very clear cut. If I find someone toxic, guys, I would like to share something very interesting. I am at the receiving end of Mohit's honesty. Not the direct. I think let's talk about that, okay? Yeah. That was so interesting. Okay, so guys, I attended the first breakfast club. I still remember it was Madras Diaries at Bandra. Okay, Bandra West, and we attended and we are eating. And I had kept the name of my company, okay, as Sarvasya. And it was from the Bhagavad Gita. It means the super soul. I was pretty excited about the name. I was very excited. And I'm sitting across from Mohit, and Mohit doesn't even know about my company name because I don't think he's registered. And Mohit starts talking. He's like, yeah, people will keep the name of their company some outlandish in Sanskrit something. And usko to explain it takes 2 days. Okay, what is it? What are you doing? Yeah. He says the name of the company should exactly show what you're doing, how you're doing it. So that is why it is like Global Startup Club. It's like Global Startup, it's a club, it's a community. So that is the clarity. Yeah. I could feel the energy drain from and I'm like, what do I keep I don't have a company name anymore. Like I have a logo, everything. I don't have a company name. And believe me, I got up over there. I said, Sarvasya out, evolvement in. Like I am evolving people. So my company name is actually due to you, Mohit. Hats off to you. So my company name, guys, is Evolvement Leadership Solutions. I hope Mohit are okay with that.
So first, a big disclaimer, I love the Sanskrit names. Like even when you say the word Sarvasya, it has a mystical charm to it.
Right.
The reason I say today the brand names need to be self-explanatory because there's a lot of noise on the digital media.
Correct.
There's so much content we are consuming, so much content out there that how do you spend lakhs and crores of rupees just to build a brand called Sarvasya?
Correct.
That Sarvasya means something to the people.
Right.
That's how I look at it.
Correct.
Whereas when you use the word evolvement or evolvement leadership solution, the person who was scrolling that within 1.5 seconds already knows this has something to do with leadership and evolvement. Let me look into it if this is what I'm looking for in my life.
Correct.
So my point comes from a visibility, lead generation and conversion point of view.
Which is chahiye.
It doesn't come from the point of view whether that name is good or not. I mean, when we use the word Sarvasya, you're telling a story about yourself. Ki ye story I want to say.
Correct.
Whereas when you're talking about evolvement leadership solution, you're telling the story that others needed to hear.
Right.
Okay, so that is why it resonates quicker to them, and they lap it up as 5 extra people and then relate back to you.
No, definitely. That change I have seen, by the way.
We would have called ourselves Mojo Startup Battles, which meant nothing to anybody.
Correct.
Okay, and the day I was about to launch, I just put a cross on all my logos and everything, and I'm like, why am I branding like this? When this is not have branded any of my previous businesses.
Right.
And that's when within the next 5 minutes I drew the Global Startups Club logo. I'm like, what is this? This is a startup community or a club.
Right.
We didn't want to call it an association because an association becomes too policy making.
Correct.
Too framework oriented, too boring. So we were like, call it a club. A club is a friendly place to meet.
Correct.
Right? A friendly ideology is a club. So it's a community and a club. Startups, so you're telling people, if your founders and entrepreneurs come here. And global, because the ideology is it needed to be a community that started in India.
Right.
And went on to take all Indian founders to rest of the world.
Wow. And I love the philosophy behind it, by the way.
Because that's what I feel the next decade is in store for Indian founders. We're going to take our brands global, really speaking.
Correct.
And we want to be the catalyst and the platform who does that for them.
No, and definitely, I think Indian founders have a lot to give the world. They are, I think, very dynamic. They are sincere. If you can survive in an Indian market, which is a chaotic market, by the way, let us be very clear. To convince people is very difficult. It's a chaotic market. If you can work here, you can work anywhere. And you can kind of adapt. Indian people adapt themselves to all situations. I think that is so this is something, and the world right now is so dynamic, it needs this kind of an adaptability. That is the way I look at it. Yeah. So Indian people are, Jai Ho. And Global Startup Club is right there. Okay. So I have witnessed 2 of your Global Startup Summits. The one in Hyderabad in September and the one in February, in the month of 1st February in Mumbai.
In Mumbai.
I love the fact that, there is this battle happening, the Global Startup Battle. So, guys, during the startup battle, how soon do these founders, when they're pitching, how do they, do you ask them to register at least how many days in advance, or how does the process take place?
So see, we want founders to register as early as possible. So we can guide them in the process of pitching in front of the investors.
Correct.
So essentially at the summits, what is the difference is we run 2 parallel rooms. One where panel discussions are going on, another room where the battles is happening. With about 20, 30, 35 VCs in one room.
Yes.
Giving live feedback to the founders, displaying their pitch decks, investor decks, and their ideas to them on a big screen. On a big stage in front of another 100 people audience. So obviously we would love to train them as earlier as possible. It does happen that a couple of them only do it last minute, but because this is their way to get heard, their idea to be, evaluated, their concept being thrown in front of the people they have been wanting to meet for so long.
Correct.
And that has created some amazing startups out of the ecosystem. So many we know have been funded over a period. Investors end up meeting other investors.
Yeah, I think that was, I love
level
that.
Level 1
as
to
well.
level 2 investor to
Yeah.
level 3 investor, all are part of the same room and same panels. So it creates like an industry meet for the investor point of view also. And the startups actually get a reality check in front of that, we can't just keep giving reasons, this is why I'm stuck. Now this is your chance. Now go talk.
Correct.
Now go see how fruitful is this.
Yes. And I've seen even the investors, they've given feedback to them.
Yes.
They give a lot of feedback because these guys are quite raw. I've seen many of them just have an idea and they've not really put in their own money, or, it's like a very mini Shark Tank. kind of a thing, and so when these investors actually given their expert opinions, they are guiding them, they are telling them this is what you can do better, or why don't you work on this and then come back to us. I think that makes a lot of difference, Mohit.
Correct.
So but what is, I've seen those, you've given all the investors, the VCs, you give them the score sheets. Yeah, so what are the parameters that you look at?
So see, this was something that we created internally at Mojo, along with a friend of ours, Ayush. These were basically practical points on which investment happens.
Okay.
What is the traction you have? What is the team that you're operating with? Are you making revenue? Is it already product market fit? These kind of parameters, we have created some 7 parameters. And so it's a matrix we have built.
Correct.
Internally.
Right.
And we've got a very good response even from the judges saying that this is a lot of work done to score startups and not just 1, 2, 3, 4 points.
Correct.
And we communicate this to the startups also beforehand, so they realistically then adjust their pitch, not just for us but for general long-term perspective, that this is how people do fundraise. That is the idea, to align them, because it's no use they are talking about things, pitching things which don't relate back to an actual venture capital fund.
Correct.
So if you're talking to venture capital funds, it needs to be what they want to hear.
Right.
It needs to be the parameters on which they might sign the check for you.
Correct.
So that's what is the matrix that we've built on.
I think, I've also seen that you have taken many people under your own mentorship.
Yes.
I've seen them. I think the way they look up to you, and I think I met so many of them. There was this, I think Vivek was there. So can you just tell me of the people, whom you have mentored, and how they have now, what is the perspective now that they bring to the table?
So a lot of, over a period, I've had a decade plus experience now even as an entrepreneur. In fact, my first journey as an entrepreneur was when I was 16.
Okay.
So keeping that in mind, I feel I'm very practical about building companies today. I know how to build brands, I know how to scale brands. I also know how to operationally run them, how to build teams, etc. And these are things which I noticed a lot of people don't have a perspective on.
Okay.
So they might be very, very good founders. Like Vivek is a great founder. Sandeep is a very good founder.
Give brands. I think you can share. So
One in Me, Link Roster, Advoc International. These are just.
What about the e-scooter one, which I think you were mentoring there as well? Yeah.
Then there's another one recently, which is I Help Robotics.
Okay.
Which is they are building glasses for blind people, which is AI driven.
Wow.
So a camera records what they do, comes back, gets processed, then they understand that a blind person, when he wears it and walks around, based on the AI tech, it understands what is what.
Lovely.
And correlates it back to the person in his ears.
Okay.
And so a lot of startups we work with at a pan-India level.
Correct.
Each individual, there is no magic bullet. Each founder has its own strengths as personality. Like Sandeep is a great technical guy.
Correct, I know. I called him for my podcast. Correct. Sandeep. Yeah. Sandeep. Correct.
And so a perspective to him will be very different from a perspective to Vivek.
Correct.
And both of them are good tech guys, but in different manners. The product market fit that Sandeep has achieved is really credible. The zest that Vivek brings to his startup is really credible.
Correct.
Now you have to practically see how can you really help them grow.
Yes.
In the long run.
Correct.
Same thing with Rohit Ajita from Advoc International. I have seen them come through with a phone call 1.5, 2 years back. To today grow Advoc to international levels.
Yeah, and they're a law firm. They're handling copyright issues, IP issues. I think they've really grown. They have, I think,
correct.
They have actually scaled their business from complete freshers. They have scaled their business no end now, and I can see that change. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So such people, founders also need. So believe me, I had another podcast, which we did, and my guest was Divya Momaya from Mentor My Board, and even she has the same concept of mentoring people, mentoring the founders, mentoring. I think somewhere people forget that even the founder needs mentoring.
Correct.
It might just be an idea, but they need
I'll
mentoring.
give another example. 2 years back, I met this person helping me as a volunteer at my own events.
Okay.
Over a period, I didn't think much of it. I thought maybe a college student. Later, he tells me he's a surgeon.
Okay.
And like a qualified MD surgeon.
Wow.
And building a websites related startup.
Okay.
I remembering having such harsh talks with him.
Your honesty is coming through.
My honesty was coming out. I was like, his parents must be devastated that a
surgeon
is
7,
selling
8
websites.
or 10 years of studies.
Selling websites.
Haan.
Okay. And it took me time for him to say that why don't you align health tech
Right.
towards health tech more than
Haan.
just because you want to build a startup, but don't build it in just any random field. And fast forward 1.5 years later, he calls me that they were in super profits, built a 2.5 crore revenue company.
Wow.
Has money now to put into other health tech companies. And so, even you as an individual love those kind of stories.
Yeah.
That people you had even a 1 hour chat with had a difference to them and
Yeah.
probably are building things.
No, and the talk is of building things.
Yes.
The talk is not just of connecting. It's more of like what value you can provide. How can you build something better? I think that is okay, which also gets me to something. I know that many people have tried to copy the format of Global Startup Club. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have. So I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I realized that there was a copyright kind of highlight which happened, that somebody wants to register a similar name as Global Startup Club. All right, and I remember you're like, why the heck are they registering that? Like, people want to now, everyone has to take advantage of this new boom. They feel like, ये तो कुछ तो कर रहा है, लड़का कुछ तो कर रहा है. Now let's copy. So what is your take? You think?
I think I'll be the first person to clap.
Okay.
If they build a community in 6 cities and 8 cities and 10 cities.
Huh.
Because
And consistently.
Consistently.
Yeah.
Just as a disclaimer, we do about 28 to 30 offline networking meets every month in over 25 plus global cities.
Correct.
Okay, so the numbers go to 350 a year.
Huh.
Even our flagship conclaves we were talking about, we do 10 a year at the moment. So there's a lot
Which
of
is the
numbers.
Global Startup Summit.
Which is the Global Startup Summit. So there's a lot of numbers which is not easy to fathom.
Right.
Every year now we are bringing together 25,000 founders.
Correct.
And not just a few hundred. So, and this also comes from a Russian phrase which Stalin used in World War II.
Okay.
That quantity has its own quality. And I combined that with another thought pattern where I felt that quantity doesn't mean lack of quality or dip in quality only. Some of the best products in the world are today mass produced.
Correct.
In millions and billions of numbers, and they're perfect.
They're perfect.
Everybody knows what Sony stood for, right, as an electronics company. Every gadget coming out of Sony was Six Sigma. Doesn't mean they were not doing mass. So for us to assume mass means bad, I think we have to get over it.
No, everyone aspires to be that, yeah. I mean, please.
Correct.
Yeah.
Scale chahiye. How do you do things without scale today?
Right.
So anybody doing community building at a personal level, don't do it just because you want to copy Mohit or you think we just got lucky with it. There's a lot of hard work gone into it. I'll be happy to see you consistently doing it across 6, 8, 10 cities because it tells me that how much hard work went into it.
Correct.
To actually build it then.
No, I'll tell you what I see here is, it's for you, it's not just a business.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I can kind of see that, because you're not there to earn from that meeting. I've seen completely there. Mohit is, all the meetings taking place, you're just charging what, 575 per meeting. I mean, I think that is just going to the venue charges. It's not even something that you're taking back. because the
Correct.
venues are expensive. You're obviously there are tie-ups are happening, and so many of the co-working spaces, and you're getting the venue. So you people are spending for the venue. You're spending for the infrastructure. You're giving them a label. There's an infrastructure available. AV is happening. So all that, I don't think you're charging more. Your logic is that they will get value, and usse the business that is going to come from it is what you're going to earn from.
Correct.
I'll tell you, I was actually comparing you to this recently. It was coming out, it was going the rounds, about Reese Witherspoon, the Hollywood actress. So they said
club.
that, she started her Reese's book club. And from there, because the book club and the books which were going successful, or the one she was liking, she actually started becoming a producer and said, okay, let me make that movie. And she became a producer. So she actually got business out of her book club.
Correct.
So actually, when I think of you, I was thinking the same thing. I said, here is Mohit. He's not earning from those meetings. He's earning from the business opportunities taking place.
Correct.
And to earn
And
from a
pretty
business,
much.
you have to give value to that business. You're mentoring that business. You're growing that business. You're putting in your own money. So that is somewhere, I think that is the difference.
We have done so many events, so many conferences where we had to put money from our pocket and not take anything back.
Right.
And we still do it. We don't cancel, we don't run away. Because we are again doing it for the long-term perspective.
Correct, exactly.
And I think when as we discussed even earlier, when you truly create value for these people who want to come to your event, long-term your value gets created. That's how even all these relationships got formed, right? Everybody's become like such good, close friends. And
and I think I was there in the Mumbai event where so many people actually approached you to start up something in their city. I think there was a Bhilai, say somebody had asked you, say, can you start up something like that in Bhilai? And it took me some time.
I had to search on the map.
Yeah, it's like where, I know it's in Orissa, right? I said Orissa to hai, but where exactly is Bhilai?
Correct.
And I think even many company heads and all big industrialists are actually asking you to set up something from them. Like, can you just talk something about that?
So one thing has been the great organic growth of the community from a city to another city. For the longest time, people coming to a Mumbai and Bangalore events kept telling me, ki, let's open Kolkata.
Okay,
and then we eventually did, and then we started even Bhubaneswar. So it's great to see individuals taking initiatives in their own cities.
Right.
I mean, it's even happening at an international level. Where we are getting calls from Germany or getting calls from other cities in US. So that's the magic side of it, which reassures you that you're creating some genuine value. That's why people want to take it back to their cities.
Right.
And few where it's practically possible, we have gone ahead and done it by telling people to, lead the chapter there and take the helm as we discussed. And everything.
Right.
Also, the great thing is I end up meeting speakers along with a lot of the other people who attend. Speakers who would have never spoken to me 2 years back or outside of this forum.
Correct.
Some really well accomplished unicorn level founders, unicorn level founders. And you really understand why this man made 1,000 crore company.
Yeah.
You really, and you're not trying to access his 1,000 crores. You are understanding his knowledge base on how he built that business. And very often you realize it's not based on luck, it's based on a lot of things that he analyzed rightly, how he looks at things, how he looks at teams, how detailed process oriented those founders are, their great understanding of margins and products and market fit within their community.
Correct.
And I think that's why they were successful. And these conversations are again great to have, right?
Yeah.
Because that makes you learn every day humbly.
No, and I'll tell you what, I was realizing one thing when after I started joining you and joining the meetings, and I've been now in multiple meetings with you, I think the conversation has moved beyond your typical business. Even whether you get a sale or you don't get a sale, that's like, it will happen. But I think the quality of my business has gone high.
Yeah.
I can definitely feel that, because I've met people, who've helped me with my brand value proposition, and they've made me create something big out of it. What I was like a normal coach, like normal something, but now I'm not that anymore.
Correct.
I think the conversation is more quality oriented.
Because we are meeting experts from 20 to 30 different domains in every meeting.
Yes.
Correct. Founders who are great in SaaS, founders who are great in D2C, founders who are great in EV mobility.
Yes.
Good engineers. Same way, good at branding, good at advertising, good at digital marketing actually.
Yes.
Good lawyers who are corporate lawyers, who are transaction lawyers, who are IP lawyers. So, we don't realize how much the information is rubbing off each other.
Yes. Yeah.
The small example when we discussed about Sarvasya to evolvement was essentially a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
But look at the impact it has had on the company's journey.
Right.
Correct. And that wasn't the first one itself. I mean, I remember having similar kind of a chat with at least 10 other founders, some of them being in retail stores and other kind of businesses. And when I walked into their office and shop and I see a complete new signboard, something I might have just said over a 5-second chat with them.
Right.
And you realize that that's created such a huge difference in their journey. I think that's where it helps qualitatively.
Yes.
Meeting the like-minded people who are not exactly from the same domain, but same vigor, same passion, and the same wanting to build something themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what drives the quality a notch up for each other.
I'll tell you, you might think that, I'm again harping to the typical networking sites.
Yes.
But I'll tell you where I thought a lot of change happened for me. See, in a typical networking, you have one lawyer, you have one website designer, so they don't repeat. It's like either you register for this particular meeting and you're done.
Yeah.
And the pool of talent is very limited. That is the person who is there, and you have to go to another meeting to find somebody else. But here I found, because it was a very open-ended pool. Anyone is coming in, okay?
It's a free market.
It's a free market, all right? And because it's a free market, your product has to be more competitive. You have to showcase your product really well, because there are 3 people more who are doing the same thing that you're doing.
Correct.
You can be a charter member and there can be similar streams coming together in the same meeting. But you have to stand out because of your work and the value you provide.
Correct.
So because of that, I thought that the quality of people I'm meeting has suddenly gone very, very high.
So I think my focus was always on a certain quality is needed to meet, in these meetings.
Yes.
And we've met some really good people generally. I believe when we do an event with 50 odd people and you don't even find 5 relevant people, then something we are doing wrong.
Correct.
Okay. And at least in the meetings I host at times, I keep reminding people that maybe Nikhil Kamath will not walk into the meeting.
That's your standard
and talk
line.
to
Yeah.
you. And because even if he does, why would he want to talk to you?
Correct.
I mean, today he is able to bring a Narendra Modi and Kumar Mangalam Birla and Kishore Bayani to his podcast and talk to them at a one-to-one level.
Right.
Would he want to interact with an early stage founder himself?
Right.
And that too, in actual honesty. So from those perspectives, I just remind people, we just like to remind people that you have to correlate with each other at a peer-to-peer level. And because, in our heads, we build our company 10 times bigger than it is.
Correct.
Without realizing that maybe the person next to me is equally passionate, equally working hard. I always have this thing that when we say, no, don't judge a book by its cover, I think that's because people are judging the book by its cover.
They are. Definitely.
Okay. So we try to, the icebreakers that we do and the games that we do, break that out.
Correct.
So that's where I think even other networking events might be able to bring a good pool or are pulling it, but people are too shy to talk to each other.
No, I think your icebreakers, like I remember there was these multiple that activities that you give, so there was this recent one which I attended, and I remember there were two questions that everyone discussed, these two questions, and then one person will stand up. And I remember we only focused on one question. We couldn't even finish that one question. Like, we were in a heated debate. We were, I think, 7 or 8 of us, heatedly debating that particular question. Like, that was what was happening for us. And when finally we came, and then I always give others the chance to speak. I said, because you want these new kids to kind of, open up. And so I remember asking someone, and in the end I felt, no, we've not done justice. And I said, no, I want the mic and I want to speak. And I actually gave my bit. But that is what happened. But I like the fact that everyone is now so involved. And you can see what are their actual values. See, I judge people on their values. If in that event, if their values are not coming through, then I don't want to work with them in some way.
I am a big sucker in a similar way for a culture fit rather than only a talent fit.
Correct.
Even within a team or employees, I know for a fact an ultra talented guy who's gonna search for a new job every 6 months is not worth being in my team.
Correct.
Whereas somebody who might have 50-70% the talent as the first guy, but is culture fit to a growing vision, learning to the whole team, is a better fit from my perspective. And I think that too happens at a founder to founder level for co-founders, CTOs, vendors, customers, etc. I mean, my client retention rate is very high.
Right.
Because a lot of my clients are actually very respectful back to me also.
Yeah.
Okay.
The toxicity you mentioned there's no toxicity here.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a person to person value match.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, because we bring so much value back to our client projects in a way that we want that dynamic.
Correct.
And very often if you say a yes to a client from day one who's being rude and irrational and abusive to you, that's what you're signing up.
Correct.
And then you will end up having a vendor which is just trying to use you for money and run away.
Correct.
So those dynamics we try to rub off by making people talk to each other on our given topics.
Correct.
When you talk about, I remember one question which I selected and put it in front of groups all over India is, what do you do when, as an employee, as a startup founder, when your top 2 employees are leaving for a higher salary?
I think I also attended that. I was spoken.
So that room tells you that 5 people, what is now their value system? How do they deal with the situation?
Right.
And that's what you're trying to bring to the fore. Because these are things we otherwise hide. And so you also don't want the softest founder who is like, no, I will give all my money to the other person. At the same time, you also don't want a founder who is like, I'll fire them right away. They should go today.
Correct.
So you're trying to find the balance. Whom do you retain? What do you retain? How does the process thinking work? Have you done enough background? Like in my case, I would say I have created great SOPs that even if my best person leaves, we will miss them for a few days and few weeks and a month.
Correct.
But we would have somebody else who might take over that position. So.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And you have people returning back to you, I know that.
Yes.
People go away for some time and then they're like, and they'll come and the next one like, oh, you're back. Like, yeah, we came back. I've had that happen. I think two or three people. Like, okay. So, I don't know whether Mohit, you're aware of this, but I have been using Global Startup Club, the monthly event, to actually test out my clients. I'll explain to you what is happening, okay? So, I work on leadership mode, all right? So, there are many clients of mine who come, they have a fear of speaking in public, okay? They have a fear of opening up. They cannot express their ideas, all right? They want, I also have certain founders who have come to me, working with me, but again, they cannot talk in public, they cannot stand up. They want to pitch to investors, but they can't speak themselves. So there's a lot which happens and I work on them at a very intrinsic level, okay? And one thing which I do is, next meeting you're coming with me, okay? And believe me, these people come for the meetings, okay? And then they also see me in action. And they are like, okay, you're talking. And so I remember once, one particular meeting, and they come, and by the way, it makes a lot of difference to them. I actually guide them through it, and this is what you will
Yeah.
answer. So wo hota hai, back end I prepare them, but they come and they talk. But what really works is when they come there, and sometimes I've just met somebody just there, and I start talking, whatever. And finally they will come and be, how long have you known this person? Like, do you know this person for the last 2-3 years? I said, I just met them in front of you. How could you talk to them? You just met them. They were strangers. I said, so I actually talk about something called a professional friend. Be professional, but be friendly.
Correct.
That's how you talk, and that's how you clear things, And so, but believe me, so many of them, they come once and they're like, when is it happening again? So actually, I've realized that, they go beyond their own set boundaries.
Correct.
That is what I do in my coaching, and I think somewhere that this has helped me. I take them to this, and I know that yes, this is a controlled environment, and they're going to meet like-minded people talking about
Correct.
pitches and value, and so I think somewhere, how has this changed you?
No, definitely, right? Because I mean, as it might not be visible now, I was trying to not get on the stage, not speak, not host.
Okay.
Myself at the beginning at Global Startups Club. Okay, I would give every excuse saying that I'm so stressed from the production, not slept in a few days, don't get me around the stage, can't hold a mic. Even though I've been on stage and mics for several years.
Yeah.
That anxiety has gone away completely.
You're pretty natural, now.
I can just
You
go
can give
take
a
over
TED
anything.
talk anytime now.
Without preparation. I've done at least 9 keynote speeches now.
Okay.
Without a question, paper, or even a blotted bullet point saying that what am I going to talk about.
Correct.
So at an individual level, yes, it has changed my way of behavior.
Perspective.
But also the people who come to these events, their vigor rubs off on you.
Yeah.
So I remember my own client, another chartered accountant I met within my own ecosystem. He built a company 2x faster than I did, just during the period when I saw him. Okay. And we all have this slight narcissistic thing that we are so smart, we have done it better than others. And that made me realize that around me another founder is building at 2, 3, 5x the speed, who was asking me for help 3 months back and has scaled up beyond what I could.
Your 3 idiots moment.
It's what triggered me to go back, that I think I'm in comfort zone. Now this needs to start in Chennai and Kochi and Jaipur.
Right.
And then on a single weekend we started 3 new cities.
Correct.
And that's when we truly started calling the Bangalore founders and Delhi founders and Hyderabad founders, saying you're hosting X, you're hosting Y.
Yeah.
There was so much, everybody was scared in the beginning. Everybody would want to lap up the scripts.
Correct.
And how to do it, how can we do it without you being there, blah.
Right.
To suddenly today, they have a bigger following in each of their cities than I would.
They do. I've seen that. Your Vishnu in Hyderabad, I mean, I thought he was amazing. He was hosting the entire Global Startup the battle.
The battle.
Yeah, I think the way he hosted that entire event was amazing.
Yes.
Achha, I myself, I have never handled a panel discussion. And I believe me, at the Bombay Summit, you're like, okay, handle the panel discussion. And I'm like, what will I ask? And by the way, I was giving my own input speech. The panelist, one of them, the senior most, and he just came, he says, you are doing an excellent job, you should be sitting next to us. I was like, that. But you never know until you do it. Like, whether you're able to do something, but that is the forum and the platform given to us. I think that was amazing. Yeah, that is pretty cool. Acha, now that India, yes, we already spoke about India and how India has to now go to the world. And I think definitely I believe that India's time has come. India is somewhere, because now we are really growing and we are encouraging Made in India and we're encouraging, What do you think more needs to be done? What more can be done, or what is going to derail us? Somewhere, what are your thoughts on that?
See, so firstly, we are still a $2,000 per person economy. We're not at $40,000 and $50,000 like how some of the other countries are working. Purchasing power parity wise, probably India has advantage if we build, grow, consume internally.
Correct.
We will never go from the number 3 economy that we'll achieve eventually to even number 2 or number 1. The gap between India, China and US is just too high.
Correct.
It's just something we shouldn't lie to ourselves about. Doesn't mean we should not try targeting a higher growth rate and pushing the country towards it. But US kind of prints dollars. Okay, I mean they can just keep printing dollars. That's the whole fiat currency it is sitting on. That is the default exchange currency of the world.
Correct.
So you can't compete with that. Risk capital in India is very limited.
Correct.
Okay, because when you give 8% fixed deposit interest to not wipe out the elderly population, at the same time the access to capital for a founder goes to 25-30%.
Yes.
That's what personal loans and business loans are being given at, 25 and 30%
easily
in India. So venture capital is expecting like 40-60% return per annum, which is ridiculously high.
Very high.
Whereas in US, if you get barely less than 2% on say fixed deposit and less than 7% from assume the stock exchange is there, your capital given to a startup founder is much cheaper.
Correct.
Plus the fact that they printed and distributed hundreds of thousands of dollars per person back in 2020 and 2021, that flushed a lot of extra capital towards startups. Those $100, $200, $500,000 lying around with 10,000 people doesn't exist in India. Okay, and to build that was very difficult for the old age Indian entrepreneurs and HNIs. So even though you might have a net worth of $500,000 to $1 million, and same thing with me, we're not just gonna keep risking it until we are sure.
I think India, the
the risk
safety
capital
factor is very, very important.
Correct.
We are very conservative in terms of, we'll first save. I think I'm not talking about the current generation, but I think the ones, we have the one who grew up before globalization. We are the ones who are, we were always taught that, if you're earning 1 rupee, at least 30 paisa to save karna hai. So that mentality, and I think that is something which is continued till date, because we don't have that buffer of government looking after us for something, or we don't have that.
Again, a lot of incubation centers and the government grants haven't really worked according to me. I mean, you keep seeing incubation center cohorts. Tell me 10 very good startups that have come out of it.
Correct.
So you're giving away those 8 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs as grants, with which you can't even afford one IIT on a salary. I mean, if you're giving funds to a startup, it needs to be in a few crore bracket, which gives you a real chance to build.
Correct.
So this lack of capital at early stage and lack of risk capital, I think, or limited risk capital, not lack of it, is what can really unlock more value in India.
It can, but I think also, I think somewhere rural India, the ideas are not coming out from there. So we have a lot of areas where ideas are not really coming out.
Startup and business acumen is also overall very low. A lot of people want to start a company because they hate their boss.
Yeah, I think that is, I totally agree.
And they don't have any new ideas, no original ideas. They're not building anything fresh or with innovative perspective. Everybody's learned this pitch deck format and want to say this is the problem, this is the solution. I'm like, really deep dive into it. Is this really a problem to solve?
Correct.
You're talking about creating water out of air. Okay, in Rajasthan, I think if there was enough moisture in the air in Rajasthan to keep drinking water out of air kind of a solution, I think nature would have done it and given you rains.
Correct.
So, you just hear it,
Ah.
then you see, is it practical? How practical is it? Rather, if you have muddy water, can you create something that can filter that water to the best extent possible rather than
Right.
trying to catch?
Correct.
So you hear problems and solutions which are not practical, and they're not able to then demonstrate it in a practical real life application.
Right.
And I think that is what is lacking. That real understanding what consumer will pay for. And trust me, and I know Indian consumers are buying things today.
They are.
Credit is access at a personal account level. And we are buying things.
Yeah, India has hit the brand wagon really well. I mean, now I think people
And
are...
another person trying to create another garment brand and garment startup or another skincare brand by white labeling, and then you will cry about lack of capital. So, that might happen because it's just another of another.
Yeah. There are too many in the market already.
Too many in the market. Like, even recently I met somebody who wanted to start another cab aggregation service.
Okay.
So I was a little sarcastic. That is a 2013. Because I couldn't fathom in my head why would today again you would want to do cab aggregation. It's been done, overdone.
And also to get that market share, the kind of investment required to, like, literally that red ocean strategy ho jata hai. Like,
the CAC or customer cost of acquisition will be very high. You're essentially better off buying shares of Google and Meta because that's where you're going to burn all the VC money.
Yeah.
And not really, on a real value system. But you meet such amazing startups also who are so innovative, doing so many different things. You have to think within that, what can you create better?
Yeah, I think somewhere their story, what can they do better? Some of them are really innovative. I've seen that. Like, I think, Sandeep Sana was pretty impressed, and that One in Me and what he's come up, and so many things. But yeah, many are very, very repetitive. I think now I met a couple of people in the last meeting. They're all talking about cybercrime and all. I think that is the new thing which is coming up now, very, very in a big way. And so, because now even the government is now on the wagon, and that 1930 and stuff like that. That message keeps coming when you call somebody, cybercrime report karo and stuff. So I met people, who are actually doing something for cybercrime, and pretty impressive. But again, see, I'm meeting such people.
Yeah.
Where I would have met such a person, if you think about it.
Correct.
So then okay, this is happening, this is what's new. So, Acha, by the way, now we have, America is getting the trade wars with the whole world.
Yes.
What do you think about that? What is India mein kya farak padega?
See, the good thing is he's not singled India out, Donald Trump.
Right.
Or the trade wars he's escalating on. So, if the tariff goes up for us for 25% and it goes up for Vietnam, say 34%, and everybody else to similar extent, how does it really affect us? Correct. I mean, it affects the American population more.
Yes.
Maybe your, product consumer demand elasticity ke karan it might drop 10%.
Right.
But at a micro level, I don't think so. For an individual person, it should create that big a difference.
Okay.
I mean, get your workarounds towards it. And I also feel it is a strategy of Donald Trump to get certain leaders from around the world back on the table to renegotiate the terms.
Got it.
That if we have an zero taxation policy on import for your goods, why are our goods being taxed at 50 and 100%? So I think he's just trying to renegotiate rather than just implement it as the word is.
Right.
And it's a wait and watch. Luckily it's not like India is getting singled out.
Correct.
And also I think the current Indian government does have a good relationship with him. Okay.
Yeah, they've built it up over the years.
He acknowledges that India is a true large democracy in its own right. So while he might be having a war with, a communist Putin
Whatever, yeah.
to China, which is again communist, I don't think so. At the same time, he can put India in the same bracket.
Correct.
And have a trade war with India, which is the largest democracy in the world.
Right.
I mean, it's good to make India friends.
Correct.
Which I think the current American government does realize. So it might not be as harsh as it looks from far away.
No, I somehow feel that it's harsher for the American public rather than the other countries.
Correct.
Yeah, I think they've not realized all of them the repercussions. So it's going to be very harsh, and I think the standard of living will affect in America. But India will go on as usual.
I think it's also a hard call, right? I mean, think about it. If India did not have the kind of import duties on vehicles as it did, we wouldn't have been the third largest vehicle producer country in the world.
Correct.
Today, virtually every car you see on Indian roads is produced in India and in good quality.
Yeah.
It created a domestic market for likes of Tata's, Mahindras,
Yes.
Maruti Udyog initially, and built our own brands also. Allowed companies to build specific car brands for India only. And imagine there's 24,500 components that goes into building a single car. It's about 20,000 plus of those are built in India for India.
Correct. Right.
So those 20,000 are supporting another 10,000, 20,000 companies building for one manufacturer.
Exactly. It's a complete.
So it's an ecosystem building why
Totally
you
agree.
needed to manufacture in India.
Right.
And I think in the short term, US might suffer. But I think that's what Donald Trump is trying to do, that certain industries at least need to still hold back and redo things in US. And not just, because it's virtually over the last 25 years, a certain portion of US middle class has been wiped out. So there's rich and super rich, and then everybody's surviving paycheck to paycheck.
Correct.
Because there's
I think that's
just more
happening
population.
everywhere, I guess.
It's happening everywhere.
I think somewhere, I don't think anyone is exempt of that. Somewhere.
I would love to be super rich someday. So.
Yeah. So let's see. We are all in that process. So that's part of it. So I think, we had a lovely conversation, Mohit.
Thank
Amazing.
you for having me.
And I'm so happy that you could come, and I really want the Global Startup Club to grow, because I know that this will grow because there are so many other people who are also going to grow along with you. And it's not just you who will be super rich, everyone involved is going to be super rich.
Absolutely, absolutely. Always nice to talk to you. As a friend, just differences on the camera today.
Yeah.
And I think we'll go great strength to strength as a community, as a club.
Yeah.
And I think it's just nice to bring people together.
Definitely. Like-minded people, and also encouraging the right mindset for them.
Yes.
And I think something that is what you're doing. You're not just encouraging people to come together, but the right mindset is getting highlighted.
Correct.
So I think that is what is making the big difference. So
yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Amazing, Mohit. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.